This month's COP27 UN Climate Conference in Egypt has huge implications for energy and commodity markets as policymakers attempt to map out the next steps on the world's path to decarbonisation. Argus is providing in-depth coverage throughout the 2 weeks of the conference, and here with a roundup of the latest developments direct from Sharm-el-Sheik is my colleague Michael Ball.
Hello from Sharm-el-Sheik with the COP27 climate talks that just wrapped up today. After going into extra time with a final outcome that in some ways was a milestone, but in other ways came up short of some countries' expectations. Negotiators worked pretty much around the clock over the last 2 days of the talks, which went a couple days over. They had been scheduled to end on Friday, before reaching a final consensus early this morning. The most significant outcome was that countries agreed to create a loss and damage fund, which will be used to help developing countries that have been hit the hardest by the effects of climate change. However, the exact details of that fund and how it will be implemented will be determined over the next year. But in other areas, the agreement today did little to go beyond what countries agreed to last year in Glasgow, such as on emissions and ambition. The EU had tried to link the two issues of going forward on emissions ambition and the loss and damage fund, and EU lead negotiator Franz Timmermans this morning said that he felt like countries had lost all the momentum coming out of Glasgow. COP27 also did not really advance beyond Glasgow when it comes to the use of fossil fuels, preserving but not changing its language to call for the phase down of unabated coal-fired power plant and eliminating the inefficient fossil fuel subsidies. During the talks, India had called for a phase down of all fossil fuels, while the US had said it would support a phase down of unabated fossil fuels. But in the end, it looks like the concerns of major oil-producing countries, including Saudi Arabia, won out. However, the issue is unlikely to die and will come up again next year after the COP, which will be held in the United Arab Emirates. And finally, on Article 6, which is used to govern emissions trading under the Paris Climate Agreement, negotiators did reach agreement on advancing some next steps for filling in the details of that system, such as how countries will authorize the use of emissions credits under Paris. But again, those issues will be agreed to more over the next year with more talks leading into the United Arab Emirates COP. And that's pretty much it here from the COP. Thank you for following us on Argus, and we're signing out, and we'll see you next year.
Thanks for watching, and remember to keep following Argus on LinkedIn, Twitter, and to keep an eye on argusmedia.com for further updates from our COP27 team.